Yeah,
Excellent. Well, it's great to meet you, Michelle. Thank you for taking a minute out for the show today. I appreciate it.
absolutely. So happy to be here.
So let's get into your life as a career coach and an author. And before we do that, the one thing that we all went through together as a planet was COVID, and it created so many levels of us shifting and figuring things out. How much of living through that time period has reverberated and created waves that you're still dealing with now in a new year?
Oh, that is such an excellent question, Joe, because, one thing that came out of the pandemic that was really positive was it caused people all around the globe to, I'm going to say, hit the pause button, do
Yeah.
some reflection. And a lot of people realized that they weren't really that satisfied or fulfilled in their job. Like through that reflection, they were thinking about what work really energizes me? What's the stuff that I can do but doesn't really give me energy? What's the profile of the right kind of organization for me? And while people were, hanging out on their couches, they couldn't see friends and they couldn't do all their activities. What they were doing was like mentally mapping those reflections against where they were right now. And a lot of people realize that I'm not really fulfilled in my work, or I am not really aligned with the values of the organization that I'm part of. And what that caused was people to make some big changes. They weren't just thinking about making a change, people en masse were dealing with change. And you might have heard, Joe, of this big trend back, like 5 years ago in the pandemic. It was called the Great Resignation.
Yeah.
And what that was, people were leaving their jobs, they were going to find other jobs. And we are still dealing with effects of that today because it's the foundation and the principle behind the Great Resignation that still exists today, which is we don't just have to fall into jobs just because they're offered to us. We need to be intentional. We need to think about what's really important to us and align ourselves very intentionally with not just the work that we're doing, but also the organization that we're doing it with. And so I'm seeing with my clients today, people are taking charge of their career more. They're doing that reflection and they're finding roles and organizations that really align with the purpose that they want and also aligns with their values. So really, really interesting to see that something that happened, like this many years ago now,
Yeah.
the effects of it is still being felt today.
Absolutely. Well, I was blown away whenever it was all going on where no one could hire anybody. And I was wondering, is
Mm,
there government handouts that people don't have money? But it really wasn't about that. It was about people finally getting to a point where it was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do
yeah.
the work that's not going to satisfy.
Exactly. And it was interesting, like the Great Resignation gave way to another trend. Now this one was short-lived, so not a lot of people may have heard about this one, but it was called Rage Apply.
Yeah.
And so what Rage Apply was, as the name would suggest, people were like almost angry, like they were really unhappy with what they were doing. And so what they were doing was they were just firing out resumes all over the place. Kind of in the coaching industry in the career transition space, that is called the spray and pray approach, which is I'm just going to send out tons of resumes and I'm going to pray. I'm going to hope that, one of them will net me the job that I would really enjoy. That's not a really great approach. And that's why that trend was really short-lived. But it really signified something I think that was important for leaders everywhere to pay attention to, which is there's a lot of people out there that are not happy with what they're doing. So
Yeah.
they're taking to this approach, even though it's, not the best aligned approach, they're still taking to like an approach to actually do something and not just sit and wait and see what happens. And it's that action-based approach that I'm seeing more with people that I'm working with. They want to take action. They don't want to just sit anymore. Some of these people, are when Sunday rolls around, are thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to go to
Yep.
work. Tomorrow's Monday. I don't know, Joe, if you know people who fall into that camp. And when individuals are feeling disheartened about their work, maybe they're feeling frustrated or discouraged at work, maybe they're feeling underappreciated, undervalued at work. They don't want to sit in that anymore. They realize it's actually not great for their own wellness, not just their career wellness, but their physical wellness, their emotional wellness, their mental wellness, and they're wanting to do something about it.
Yeah.
And that's what I see is so encouraging is people don't want to sit, they want to do something.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily
Yeah.
basis. Let's put you at career day in front of a bunch of kids. One of the kids is curious and is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
That's a great question, just to be able to frame it. So, the really short answer is I help individuals navigate career transitions with confidence and helping them find work that really energizes them. That's kind of the short answer.
Yeah,
But really what that means is I'm working with individuals to help them figure out, what's important to them. What is that work that really fires them up, that lights them up? For some people, they haven't felt that way for an awfully long time. And believe it or not, I've actually worked with some clients who have never felt that. They've
yeah,
never felt lit up by their work, and they're really looking for something else. So I don't place people into jobs, but what I do is I help them with all of the job search activities. So I help them figure out what is their career destination, like what is that role or that path that they would really like to engage in. And then it's building a plan. I like to think of looking for work as going on vacation. Maybe not as much fun
yeah.
as, going to Rome or going to Disney World, but the commonalities are there. You need to have a destination, you need to know where you're headed, and you need to have a plan. And so I'll work with clients to help them devise that plan that incorporates a mix of job search activities, online job boards, reaching out to headhunters and recruiters, but also, doing a heavy, heavy dose of networking, like reaching out to people, having one-on-one conversations like we're having right now, Joe,
Sure.
and being able to explore new career paths and actually uncover some leads. So I help them with all of that so that they can feel more engaged with their work, they can feel more energized. I like to think of my why, like the why I do this is that I firmly believe everybody in this world deserves and is entitled to find work that energizes them for a company that believes what they believe in,
Yeah.
which means that the values of where you do your work really need to be aligned to what you do. And, I got to this work through losing my own job. I was restructured twice over the course of my career. My first restructure was with an organization I was with for 18 years,
Yeah.
like right out of high school. And so I was given support when I lost my job. And I remember how valuable that support was for me, and really helped me take steps forward. So, when a friend of mine planted a seed years and years and years ago saying, I never understood why you didn't get into coaching, when I lost my job the second time, I remembered what she said. When she said it, it wasn't the right time for me. But then when I was restructured the second time, it made sense. It was kind of like the universe opening up and saying, you need to really check this out. And that's exactly what I did. I looked into coaching, I networked with coaches, I learned more about what coaching is all about, and I realized this is something that is very purposeful work for me. And I set up a practice almost 10 years ago, and the rest is history. So
Yeah.
here I am now.
So speaking of that glow and loving what you do, what did you want to be when you were a kid? What was your ideal dream life?
Oh my gosh. You know what's really funny? I mean, so many kids will say like, I want to be an astronaut,
Uh-huh.
or, I want to be like a police officer or like something like that, right? I never had like that one profession. There was a time though that I was interested in teaching. And it's kind of funny because, in addition to being a career coach, that does specialize in career transition and leadership development, I'm also a workshop facilitator. So I'm kind of, like teaching adults, like at
Yeah,
this stage of my life. But there was a time where, teaching was attractive to me because, and this I think is what's really been consistent to where I'm now. I wanted to help people. Like I
sure.
wanted to, connect people to resources that would be, of assistance to them. I wanted to especially take them from a place where maybe they were really stuck, they weren't able to move forward, and that I could do something to help them take those steps forward and do the very thing that they've set their mind to. That's always been a foundation for me. And, I'll credit my parents with this one. Like I've been a serial volunteer since I was like an early teenager. And I credit my parents because that was something that they brought into our family. Like my parents are still serial volunteers right now, but it was just that helping approach and that commitment to giving back in some way and that commitment to doing like purposeful work, which doesn't have to be paid work. It can
Yeah.
come through your volunteer work. That's just been something that's always stuck with me. So, I'm not surprised, I guess, that this has led me to coaching. But, like to your question, like what did you want to be when you grew up? I joke with people that, like I'm almost 56. Well, at age 46, I finally figured out what I was going to do when I grew
Yep.
up.
Yep. Yep. It's never too late, that's for sure. So,
Yes.
who has been that inspiration? Who has been that motivating force for you in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I really give like full credit to my good friend Val, who planted the seed for me so many years ago because, and my friend Val, she's a coach. She actually is the managing partner of a large coaching organization here in Ottawa, Canada, that exists internationally as well. But she saw something in me that I didn't see for myself. Like I, in reality, was always coaching with I say coaching with a small c, meaning I didn't have a method or an approach, like a defined approach, but I did develop teams. I really was focused on developing people. I did that in different jobs over the course of my career. But she saw in me the potential to take it somewhere else, to take it further. And so I think like when she mentioned that to me, and it was really just a mention, we didn't even have like a full conversation about it. But when she said to me, I never understood why you didn't get into this as your like chosen career. And at the time I said, oh, at the time I loved my job. I was working for this large national cancer organization. I was working with volunteers who were really, helping to support people living with cancer. I had no interest in changing, but then the door really opened when the door in my job closed and I realized I had some time and space. So when she mentioned that, I just kept it in my head, even though I didn't do anything with it for probably about a year and a half after she shared it. And that really took me on this path. I don't know if I would have gone on this path or gone on this path when I did had it not been for what she shared. So that was a huge inspiration for me. And one other source, and your listeners might be really interested in this book. It's called Answering Your Call by John Schuster. And I read that book not when I was looking to get into coaching, but I read it just before I experienced restructure number one from the company I was with for 18 years. And I had found this book in a magazine that I was reading on a plane to go to a conference. I worked for a large national bank, and I was representing my group at this conference. I was flipping through this magazine. There's the book. And it spoke to me because even though I hadn't lost my job yet, and I didn't know then that I was going to lose my job, I was already feeling that sense of not feeling fulfilled, the same kind of feeling that my clients are feeling when they come to me. I knew that I didn't want to be in financial services until I retired. And so when I got home, I ordered the book, and that was what made me realize that I've had all of these calls like all throughout my whole life. And the big call was one that I mentioned earlier, which is that call to help, that call to serve, that call to be of service to someone else. And it's just allowed me to follow that thread. So those two sources were really instrumental for me.
So, your job is in the service of helping people get to a better place. You're giving a lot of yourself, and
Yes.
it can be heavy stuff helping
Yeah.
people get to a better place. But you also are a human being with a career that you need to develop and be your own self. How do you
Yeah.
balance all of that? How do you do the best job you can, but evolve as a human?
Yeah, that's such an excellent question because, what you're speaking to there is really just, the bigger idea of wellness. And I would say this has been a even larger topic since the early days of the pandemic, where there's a lot of individuals in our world, right, that are experiencing, they're not as well on different levels. And so it is something that I make a priority. And, I also need to, I can't just talk to my clients about making sure that they're taking time for themselves in a job search, which I do because it is really important. Looking for work is not meant to be a 9 to 5, like 7 day a week job. So I need to especially model to my clients that this is something that I take seriously, but it is something that I take seriously for myself as well. And I know for myself, if I don't get up and have movement when I'm at the computer, I don't feel so great. If I don't start my day with some kind of activity for me, whether it be a run or a bike ride or a strength training class, or right now, because our canal in Ottawa is frozen, I've been getting up before the crack of dawn and going for like a 15-kilometer skate and seeing the sunrise. Those are the things that I know for myself, they give me joy.
Yeah.
And when I especially start my day doing something for myself, then I find the rest of my day is, whether it's a heavy day, whether it's a busy day, whether I've had some, some challenges with clients, it just makes the rest of the day so much easier to deal with. And so I do talk to my clients about do one thing every day, even if it's for 5 minutes, that feeds your soul, that gives you joy, that has nothing to do with your job search. It has nothing to do with like the to-dos around the house. It has nothing to do with like going out and like doing some shopping. Like those are not really things usually that give us joy.
Yeah.
So I say something is always better than nothing. Even if you do something like going out into, going for a walk around the block or going to your local forest and just, kind of breathing in the trees. Even if you do something like that for 5 minutes, it's restorative and it's better than nothing. And the biggest thing I would say that I've done for myself recently that has contributed to my wellness is I've authored a book, which I never in a million years would think that I would do, but it's everything that I do in my work. It's all of, the systems and the strategies that I work on with clients. And that book has been really fulfilling. It's been tiring. I mean, don't get me wrong, it hasn't been easy, but I've done it for myself. Nobody told me I had to do it. And nobody said, like, this is something that you must do in your career. It's something I wanted to do. And so I'd encourage all of your listeners do one thing that feeds your soul every day, and it might not take away the stress, and it might not mean that like you find that job magically, and it might not mean that all of a sudden your financial wellness is like you feel secure with that, but it will make it easier to cope, and that's a big strategy that we can all employ.
Absolutely. So, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
That I've ever gotten. Oh, here's one. So, and it goes back to my earlier job seeking days when I lost my job after being with one organization for 18 years. I knew nothing about looking for work. I mean, my reputation got me where it needed to go. Like people knew me, so I got offered jobs. I mean, I usually didn't even have to interview. But when I lost my job, all of a sudden I was thrust into a job market where I didn't know what to do and I wasn't really sure how people could help me. And one of the best pieces of advice I got was look through your network, not at it. And what that means is we all know hundreds of people, and any of those hundreds of people could be helpful in any given situation. When I first was looking for work, I wanted to get into not for profit, and people all around me were saying, you'd be a great fundraiser. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go and explore this and check it out. But the thing is, I didn't know anybody in not for profit. Like I only knew a couple of people. I knew people in banking. That's what I came from. So the mistake I made initially was I would only reach out to those people that I knew that were in not for profit.
Yeah.
But what I failed to realize was all of the people in my banking world all knew hundreds of people and magic. Like there were people in all of those individuals, connections of my connections, that were able to help me because then I started to look through the network. And that's a game-changing piece of advice that not only have I used myself, like as I was developing myself as a coach, but it is a big piece of advice that I give to my clients as well.
So, what are you the proudest of everything you've done and evolved into in your career? What is the proudest one?
Oh my goodness. I mean, probably being a parent is, is definitely is up there. I've got
Sure.
two teenage boys. They're 16 and 18, and they make me proud all the time. They also give me some gray hair as being a parent. That's par for the course, of course. But you know, outside of being a parent, I have a strong affinity for adventure, and so I've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and I've climbed the Inca Trail of Machu Picchu,
Wow.
which have like just been incredible experiences that make me really really proud just to be able to achieve something like that and
Sure.
just to be in that kind of grandeur. Professionally, I would say getting into coaching is my proudest moment. Like this is like I was serious before when I said at age 46, I finally figured out what I was going to do when I grew up. I'm not leaving coaching. I mean, I love it. It's incredibly fulfilling. I take great reward and great pride in, even just being a witness to the progress of my clients and to be able to be a guide and a conversation partner to take them from a place where they're feeling stuck. They don't want to go to work. Maybe they're calling in sick. They've been looking for work and finding nothing. To take them from that place to a place where they found a job that's fulfilling. They're energized in their work. They're feeling really engaged. They're feeling some joy in what it is that they're doing. That's a big shift. And
Yeah.
to know that I've played a role in that, there's no price tag on that.
Sure. So everyone has a perception of you out there in the world. Family, friends, everyone that gets your books, all of your clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh my gosh, that's an excellent question. I'm going to think about that one for a moment. Um, I mean, how I see myself and how I believe that others see me is that I give my attention to people. And life can be busy, but when somebody is needing you and they need to talk or they need to work through things, all of my friends and my family too know that, regardless of what's going on, that I'm going to give them their full attention and I'm going to listen to them. That's one of the other things that I know about myself. And clients have told me that I'm a good listener and that I create a safe space for people to just share, to be able to work through some challenges, to be able to explore. And so that's something that I certainly pride myself in, and that's something that, I'm going to hope that I'm going to be known for those things for years to come. And then, I'm not a fixer. Like I'm not, when a friend is or a client especially, comes with a challenge, I'm not going to give them advice and tell them what to do. I'm going to explore with them, well, what does that mean for you? Well, what gets in the way? Like, what's one thing that can open things up? Like being more of a guide, and that is something that I do with friends too. It's just giving them that listening ear and asking some questions. That's something I definitely see in myself. My kids call me out on it all the time. You're asking too many questions, Mom. So coaching me, like
Right.
that, those things are just part of who I am. So I see myself bring those qualities like just to my conversations, and I know that people see that in me too because of just what they share with me.
Yeah.
Such a great question. Like we want to be known in our lives, right? For not like the volume of work that we can crank out, like this person was known for like always showing up, and giving their all and like doing so much work. Like who wants to be known for that?
Yeah.
Like I don't know too many people that do. So,
Sure.
it's what you bring to your life, it's what you bring to your conversations that I think makes all the difference.
Absolutely. Well said. So if anyone wants to pick up your book, hire you, reach out, they have questions, where can they go?
Yes, so my book is available on Amazon February 6th. It's called Cultivating Career Growth, Navigating Transitions with Purpose. So you can order it in the US and Canada via Amazon. You can also visit my website to pick up a free chapter of my book. I like to call it the try before you buy approach.
Okay.
And you can do that by visiting mschafercoaching.ca/cultivating career growth. You can sign up to receive a free chapter of my book. If you want to reach out and have a conversation with me, you can email me, Michelle at mschafercoaching.ca, or also on my website. You can book a 30-minute free consultation with me, free discovery call, just to talk about your career challenges and where things are headed, and perhaps how I can help. So, and LinkedIn, I can't forget LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn all the time. So if you are on LinkedIn, please reach out over LinkedIn. I post regularly in that space.
Excellent, Michelle. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your
Thank
exuberance, for your
you.
story. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you. Take care.